Let's add some interest and some textures to our planner or journal pages. I'm going to be working in my current planner. So my current one is for 4 months. I started this in September and now I'm working on the second signature for October. You can find a video of how I made this planner and a whole playlist of my Plan With Me videos linked down below. So this was my September signature. And now I want to move into October. And specifically, I want to add something on this last page for October. So the techniques I'll be using in today's video are applicable for any journal you're working in or planner. It doesn't matter. These are just general things I like to do to embellish my pages. I'm going to be working with my mushroom garden kit. You can find that linked below this video as well. But again, you can use either any digital kit or cutouts you have from books, from magazines, scrapbook papers, whatever works for you. So I just want to mention I have printed these out on 200 GSM cardstock. That way I have a sturdy base and I don't have to back everything with cardstock. And today I want to use this belly band from my Mushroom Garden ephemera. It's page number 8. I designed this belly band to fit perfectly on an A5 size paper. You can always shrink the size by printing out your printable at a lower percentage. And you can also just cut out a section of a printable just as a strip. You don't necessarily need these indents, but of course they would also be very simple to add on your own if you want this particular shape. So I'm just going to cut this out. I think it's easy to get a lot of digital kits and then to keep doing the same things with them, using them in the same way. So let's see if we can come up with ways to add interest, to make them uniquely ours, and to make them look a little more interesting. So usually the first thing I will do is ink up my edges with walnut stain. This one little step already helps the element come out a lot better on this background. So I like adding a lot of different textures to my journals or planner. So with a belly band like this, I think it's really fun to add some fabric underneath this strip to make this strip come out even more. Because at the moment, even though I've inked up the edges, it doesn't really stand out enough for me. And I always love an opportunity to add some extra texture. So I took out these two fabrics. Not sure yet which one of these I'm going to use. Let's audition this one. This is a Tim Holtz fabric called Fractured Mosaic. And the reason I chose this one is because of these beautiful turquoise colors, because we have this turquoise bird here and we have a little bit of turquoise here in the background, and I want that to come out a little bit more. So by adding just a strip like that, let me try to fold that so we can imagine that a little bit better. So that would look approximately like this. So that's the one option. Or if we want a lighter option, we could use this fun one by Marsha Dorsey. In the meantime, I've learned how to pronounce her name. And this one is called Spotted Graffiti. And it's from the collection Sea Glass. And I also think these colors are perfect because look, we have the exact same colors here that I have here. So let's audition that one. I feel like this one is maybe a little bit softer, and actually I like this version better. This one is quite dark. I mean, it would also work, but I think I'll try the other one. I will also link my source for these kind of fabrics for you below. It is a German online store specialized in quilting fabrics. It is called Quilting for You. So I'm just going to cut out a strip here. And I want to make sure that strip has some of this pattern in it. Yep, I think I'll take this strip here. This I can definitely keep. I could dye it and use it as a tag topper or something like that. Then I want to cut it so that it peeks out on the top and the bottom, just because I love things that peek out from my pages. I took this to my sewing machine and added some messy stitching. So I went around it 3 times, once with a zigzag stitch and twice with a wavy running stitch, just because I wanted to add more contrast. And today is a day where I feel like more is more. So I want to keep embellishing this belly band. And I think I want to add a fairy on top. Let's see. Well, I could just take her. She's already partially cut out. I could either add her just as a card by cutting it out, but I think I would rather cut out the image. I just love her big mushroom hat. How cute. So I will ink up the edges again. First step. I want her to stand out more, so I'm going to make her shiny. So I'll add some clear embossing powder using my Distress embossing dabber. Then we'll transfer this onto a clean paper. Clean-ish. So that my embossing powder doesn't stick on it. So this is clear embossing powder. Mine is by German company Ideen mit Herz. I'm very happy with this one. Even though it is a bit clumpy, but you can easily break those up. It's still hot and it's curling, that's okay. But I see I missed the spot right there by her eye. So I will do another layer. I'll just wait till it cools off so I can bend it. Okay, so she's nice and glossy now. But it's not enough. I want to add some more elements underneath. I really want to go all out with this belly band. I'm going to try something that I've never tried before. So what could look really cool is if I use these leaf die cuts. These are Sizzix and Tim Holtz with the number 665559. And they are called leaf fragments. And you may or may not be aware that you can use these dies also on fabric. But if I just cut these leaves out with the fabric, I think they'll be too floppy. So I want to add this fabric onto my cardstock. And hopefully my die cut machine will cut through both layers. So I've never tried that. We'll see if it works. Would be really nice if I had a spray adhesive now, but I don't. So I'm just going to have to glue it on with some textile glue. I just have a piece of scrap cardstock here. It's 200 GSM. And I'm going to cut out a strip here that will fit approximately. So I like using some thinned down textile glue. PVA glue is fine, any water-soluble glue. Of course, fabric tack or something like that is perfect. And it's always easier to add the glue to the thicker and more sturdy substrate, which in this case is the cardstock. So I'll just apply a coat here. And then I'll just add my fabric on top. I'll start from one end and smooth it out. Actually, I could use my little iron. I have this little vintage iron. You could use like a credit card type thing. Oh, this is perfect. So then I need to dry this because I don't want to mess up my dyes. And I'm also going to wash this brush because I don't want this to dry with the glue because that would ruin it. So I'll just rinse that, dry that, and I'll be back. Okay, so this is dry. Let's put this to the test. I have my Sizzix fold-away die cut machine here. Let's take some of these leaf dies. I am super curious. I'll pass it through again. I think we might be in luck. Oh wow. Yes, it's working. Oh, this is fabulous. This makes my day. The little bits in between need some help, so hopefully those will come out quite easily. But this is fabulous. I'll do some here as well. So let's see if we can get these little parts out easily. And it looks like we can. That's just amazing. Have you ever tried this? Let me know if you did. I'm sure it's already a thing, but this is new for me. How fun is that? And we have the beautiful texture of fabric. So I punched all of the little holes out, and I especially love this one because look at how frayed this is. I didn't do that on purpose, that kind of just happened, but I love the look of that. So I want to see if I could do that on purpose on some of these other leaves. So I'll try to take my scissors and kind of just go along the edge. Yeah, I guess we can do that to some degree. So we do get a little bit, it's not a lot. Don't want to destroy the shape of the leaf. Oh, look. Because that's, of course, the cool thing about the fabric. So we have to use that to our advantage. Yeah, so we do get a little bit of fraying. It's just more fun. So I have all of these fuzzy leaves now. They all have frayed edges. And when things happen like this, where the fabric completely comes off of the cardstock, perfect. I embrace that because that just adds to the grunge. Why is it that we love frayed edges? I don't know, it's just this tattered look. Very, very appealing. Has a coziness factor to it as well, doesn't it? And I realized that with every leaf, I got a little more courageous and was able to rough up the edges more with time. So I'm super happy with these. But I want to add some more BAM to them. So I'm going to use my mica stain Wicked Elixir. I'm so into these mica stains at the moment. I actually forgot to unclog the nozzle here, so I can't spray it. But we're going to work around that. So I'll take my mixed media mat. This is by Tim Holtz and Tonic Studios. You don't need this to do what I'm doing. I'm just going to use that as a surface to add some of this. I just want to make sure it's mixed up well. Always a good sign when you can hear the metal ball rattle. I want to be sure to get the mica on my mat. And then I could either just dip these in, or I could use a brush. Well, let's just dip it in. I need my gloves. Okay, so I'm going to break this up a little bit. And let's just dip that in. So when that dries, hopefully that will have some shine to it. Let me try that with one before I do it to all of them. Important lesson I have learned, not to hold anything in your hand while you're using your heat tool and you have plastic gloves on, because they will melt, as you can see. Okay, so is there a shine? Just a little bit. You see that? It's not as strong as on paper, but it does give an interest. So if we compare with or without, I think these have more interest. So I will continue to do that with all the other leaves. I will need some more. That looks cool. There's more on there now, so maybe that will have a little more shine once it's dry. The fabric is obviously very absorbent, so it's using quite a bit of the mica powder. Whoops, that was not intentional. We'll work with this. Don't want to waste this beautiful liquid. Perfect, we used it all. By the way, if you don't have leaf die cuts or a die cut machine, you could just hand draw some leaves or find some templates on Google. Cut out those shapes on a cardstock and then trace it on your fabric and cut them out by hand. So there's always alternatives. Yes, die cuts make our lives a lot easier, but there are always ways around it. So we can definitely see some shine. Look at that. How fun! Very excited about these now. I do want to ink up the edges though. That will just give them a little bit more definition. So again, I'm going to take the walnut stain. So let's see, in comparison with and without the Distress Oxide, I'll also add a little bit here where the holes are. I should probably take out my little finger dauber for that. So comparison with and without the inked up edges. Basically just the white part there disappears. So we have all of our grunged up leaves. I just like them like this a lot better than with the white edges, but that is of course personal preference. So let's add some of these. I am so excited. I think I'll put them in between the printout and the fabric. So what do we think about something like that? That is quite elaborate, I'd say. But I love it. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. So I'll glue all the leaves down. So I'll gently remove this. And then I will use my fabric glue. How do we do this? This is not so easy because I don't want to lose the place. Maybe we'll try top down. And I also have to be careful about the glue seeping through the fabric, because obviously the fabric is porous and that will stick to my page, so I don't want that. So this is quite a tricky operation. So for now, I'm just gluing the leaves onto each other so that they all stay in place. Let's double check. Yeah, that looks good. So now we can take this off. So let's glue this on this surface. Let's add glue here to the middle. Oops, that's a lot. And now let's make sure this is dry before we stick it onto our page. Then I want to add her a little bit raised, so I'll add some foam tape underneath. And if you don't have any foam tape, you could just use some pieces of cardboard. You could layer several pieces onto each other if you want it quite thick, and you can adjust it the way you want to. So now we have several options of how to attach this to the fabric. So either we just glue the whole thing down, or we make a double belly band out of it by just attaching the top and the bottom. We could glue the top and the bottom, we could sew it, we could just add some brads. Or, which is what I think I'm going to do, is to add some fun eyelets. These are just large eyelets. You can find them, for example, on Amazon. If you search for large eyelets, they usually come in 3 different colors in a pack. So usually you get these 3 colors. And I think for my spread today, I'll go with the bronze because that looks more autumnal to me. So I'll use my crocodile. If you don't have a crocodile, if you have like a regular hole punch, I suggest punch a hole through the cardstock with your regular hole punch and then use an awl for the fabric in the back. The fabric will need a little bit of help, and we can just snip that piece off. So let's set our eyelet. So that's one side, and we do the same for the other side. So there we go. So finally, I'm going to glue on the edges. And I think it needs one final touch. No, it's not gold splatters, although I might add gold splatters actually first. I wasn't even thinking of that. Actually, I'll do that afterwards. I will first add my sentiment. This is from the Studio Light Art Collection Essentials with the number JMAESSTIC07. And I'm using the sentiment, Art is Your Voice. Such a beautiful sentiment. And it's short enough to fit right here, but it does need some inking. I love that. I think there's also this sentiment that says like, art is what you can't express with words, something like that. And that is so true. It totally needed this. Oh, it doesn't stick. Okay, so let's add some glue. Yeah, because it's this very shiny embossed surface. Oh, I should have put some cheesecloth underneath. Okay, let's take this back a step. Thankfully, I can still take this off because I do want to add some cheesecloth, some cheesecloth underneath. This one is dyed with Forest Moss Distress Oxide. Let's try that again. Should I have added some black thread? Yes. It would be so helpful if I could think of these things earlier. I'm so glad I embossed this, otherwise this would never work. So final touch, gold splatters. I'm using this warm gold here, iZink dye spray by Seth Apter called Gold Mine. Obviously you can use watercolor, acrylic paint, distress stain, whatever you have. I'm just going to use the nozzle from this, and I definitely need to cover up the sentiment and her face. And I'll just take this off and we'll get a few splatters. See, that would have been right in her face. That wouldn't have been good. I need to let this air dry because I have this embossing and I don't want to remelt that. So there we have it. The ink has dried. So I hope you find encouragement in this video to make printables or images your own. And if you're in a totally different vibe, then maybe you want to check out this video where I made this fun Halloween page without having all the Halloween things. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.